The story happens in the future where the ozone-harming substances have made the polar ice cap soften, flooding beachfront urban communities. To battle overpopulace, individuals wishing to have kids should apply for a license. The film begins in the workplaces of an organization called Cybertronics, where its proprietor, teacher Alan's side interest, William Hurt, wishes to push Mecha, otherwise known as automated innovation, to create a creation that can cherish. At the point when his partners notice their affection unit's leisure activity remedies them. He isn't talking actual love, yet profound love, like that of a kid for its mother. The story then moves year and a half into the future where the Swintons, whose child Martin, Jake Thomas, is at present in cryostasis until a fix can be found for a crippling sickness he is blasted with. His mom, Monica, Frances O'Connor, has not held up well genuinely under the circumstances that have taken her child from her. Expecting to help her adapt, her significant other, Henry, Sam Robards, a Cybertronics representative, partakes in a test wherein they would have the option to be a family to the organization's most up-to-date mecha, David, Haley Joel Osment. The climax of side interests exploration to make a robot that can love. At first, Monica is irate. Accepting her better half is attempting to supplant Martin. In any case, Monica attempts to adjust to David. Henry likewise illuminates her that assuming they decide to keep David that she should engrave herself upon him. Nonetheless, assuming that there was ever to come a period that she decided not to need him, because of the engraving being super durable, David should be sent back to Cybertronics to be obliterated. After some time, Monica chooses to play out the engraving system. She peruses a rundown of words that will initiate David's personal reenactment. At the point when she does, David refers to her as Mama and starts to behave like a genuine youngster. To give David one more type of friendship, she gives him a mechanical teddy bear called Teddy, which once had a place with Martin. Things give off an impression of being working out positively for the Swintons, until one day a fix takes Martin back to well-being. Martin views David not as a human, but rather more as a super toy or a doll. At some point, Martin requests that their mom read them Pinocchio. David becomes captivated of the story wherein the wooden mannequin turns into a genuine kid thanks to the story's blue fairy. Martin then attempts to cause David problems in various ways. In the first place, he coaxes David into eating spinach, which makes David break down and need cleaning. Some other time, he advises David to trim off a portion of Monica's hair while she dozes as a token of affection. Yet the occurrence makes Henry imagine that David was attempting to go after his wife. At Martin's birthday celebration, one of his companions chooses to test David to check whether he can detect torment. The test makes David take hold of Martin, crying, "Protect me!" The two fall into the Swintons' pool, where it appears to be that David was endeavoring to suffocate Martin. Henry concludes that David is presently not protected and persuades Monica to return David to be annihilated. Monica attempts to take David to Cybertronics under the main story of going on an outing. Be that as it may, she can't force herself to take David straightforwardly to Cybertronics and forsakes him in a woodland alongside Teddy. David ends up being terrified and confounded, and he questions why he is being driven away from his mother. Meanwhile, a male whore Mecha, Playboy Joe, shows up at the condo of a lady he sees consistently. He changes his appearance to suit her and, entering the room, thinks that she is dead. Her better half shows up and kisses his significant other, saying, "I could have killed you, yet you killed me first." Joe withdraws, understanding that the lady's significant other is outlining him for the homicide. Joe surges out of the apartment complex and removes his enrollment tag to stay away from recognition by the police. Still in the Timberland, David reasons that his surrender was on the grounds that he isn't genuine like Martin, and that if he somehow managed to find the blue pixie like in the story Pinocchio, she could make him genuine, and he would then have the option to return home. Traveling through the forest, he goes over various deserted, out-of-date, and separated mechas looking through Cybertronics garbage heaps for spare parts to fix themselves. Among them is Escort Joe. The mechas are gathered together by a man named Ruler Johnson, Brendan Gleeson, and taken to a tissue fair, where mechas are obliterated for the entertainment of hostile to mecha enthusiasts. At the point when the tissue fair staff concentrate on David, they find that he's a further developed mecha than they've yet experienced, and propose to hold him back from being obliterated. Johnson is unaffected and snatches David, taking him to the annihilation ring. At the point when a couple of cans of corrosive are to be dropped on both himself and Joe, David shouts out, showing dread like a genuine kid. The group rebels against Johnson, and in the midst of the subsequent uproar, David and Joe are liberated and leave. Escaping into the close-by woods, David tells Joe of his quest for the Blue Pixie. Joe is sure that they'll find her in a spot called Rouge City. Hitching a ride for certain youngsters, they come to the city, a world-renowned hub of grown-up diversion that rivals Las Vegas and Disneyland. Their process assumes them to a position where an educated PC portrayal of Einstein called Dr. No, voiced by Robin Williams, lets them know that the Blue Pixie can be found toward the apocalypse where the lions sob. Joe clears up for David that Dr. Realize should mean a spot called Manhattan, as numerous mechas have gone to the furthest limit of the world and have never come back. David is in support of going to Manhattan, regardless of the risk. In any case, Joe attempts to discourage him, saying that it very well may be a snare. As David and Joe leave the structure, Joe is greeted by officials who have come to capture him for homicide, a reality David knows nothing about. Seeing a vehicle sitting close by called an amphibicopter, David takes the controls and figures out how to let Joe out of the grip of the officials. Joe gets in and takes the controls, directing them to Manhattan. Their venture drives them to the overflowed New York City, where they find the Cybertronics working, on which sit sculptures of lions sobbing water from their eyes. David goes into a room where he finds another mecha that closely resembles him. Be that as it may, feeling this copy could be wanting to remove his mom from him, David obliterates it in an envious fury. It is then that teacher-side interest uncovers his presence. Let David know that he utilized Dr. No to lead him home. Let David know that the Blue Pixie is just a fantasy. Side interest lets David be to get the colleagues who planned him. David meanders around Leisure Activity's office, finding the different mechanical things that were instrumental in his creation, as well as completely boxed David and Darlene Unibicopter. Searching through David and Teddy's recollections, they are stunned to find that he had once lived among people. Utilizing David and Teddy's recollections, they compose a manufactured truth of the Swintons' home, wherein David meets a creation looking like the Blue Pixie. David wishes to be a genuine kid and to see Monica once more. The Blue Pixie makes sense of that she can't make him genuine, and that since 2,000 years have passed, Monica is since a long time ago dead. The Blue Pixie tells David they can bring back different people, yet David just needs Monica. Making sense of that they need a hair test or other human tissue, Teddy uncovers the strands of hair that David had clipped from Monica's head. David requests that since he has Monica's hair, the Blue Pixie ought to now have the option to bring her back. The Blue Pixie says that she can make this thus, and David is taken to his room. After some time, one representing things to come, Mechas comes to converse with David concerning his wish to have Monica resurrected. The Mecha makes sense of that in the past the revival of people have demonstrated to be non-enduring, that any such resurrectees would just live for one day. Indeed, fantasy land, and inside a Pinocchio-themed region, tracks down a sculpture of the Blue Pixie. Notwithstanding, moving the art causes a close-by Ferris wheel to fall, catching the amphibicopter close to the sculpture. David isn't the least bit concerned, however is cheerful that he has at last tracked down the Blue Pixie. He then starts to petition her, wishing to turn into a genuine boy. 2,000 years pass in which the world has become covered in another ice age, and people have everything except vanished. Exhuming the ice are developed mechas representing things to come, attempting to uncover and concentrate on the leftovers of the way of life and species that made them. A removal group working in the midst of the Coney Island event congregation goes over David and Teddy, frozen in the edge. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing.